Welcome to As the Story Grows. I'm Brian Patton. Today, Marc Gaffney from Gozu joins the podcast. Gozu released Remedy back on May 19th via Metal Blade Records. Gaffe talks about growing up in upstate New York, getting into music, and then we spend the bulk of the conversation talking about the writing and recording process of Remedy. If you are listening, I wanted to say thank you so much for checking out this episode and downloading the show each and every week. I appreciate it. This show cannot happen without listener support. Even if that's just downloading and listening to an episode, I appreciate it. So thanks for listening this week. On our Substack newsletter this week, I talked about passing the 400 episode mark. You can subscribe at asthestorygrows.substack.com or check the link in the show notes. Enjoyed today's chat with Marc Gaffney from Gozu. You grew up in the Boston area?
No, I grew up in Watertown, New York.
Okay.
But I've lived here, I think since '96.
Okay.
Mass, so yeah, for a long time.
Yeah, long time. Watertown, New York. What's Watertown, New York like?
It's cold. So it's like it's fine. Yeah, it is. So it's like 20 miles from Ontario.
Okay.
Like
yeah.
It's like an hour north of Syracuse.
Okay. All right. So, you're basically Canada.
Yeah, almost. Yeah. I mean, it gets, like negative 30 below, and, you get like 5 feet of snow in like 3 hours. It's all lake effect.
Oh, man.
So,
Man. That's fun.
It's not a place you want to be around in the winter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless you love the cold. So.
Yeah. Or the snow. I don't know. It's like, that lake effect snow, man. You see it and you're just like, why? Why do people live there? It's
insane. It's crazy. I mean, it'll be nice, then literally you'll like look out the window and be like, what am I doing? Like, why? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll get like negative. I remember growing up, it'd be like, one time, forget what I was watching, and it was like the coldest, Watertown, New York, negative 67 below.
Jesus. That's terrible.
It's great. You'd walk outside and it felt like someone was like slicing. You'd be like, oh my God, it's awful.
Oh man. Man. Like when you started touring and like leaving that, like when summer hits you, if you're in like Arizona, is it just fucking miserable, or are you just like, this is heaven?
So it's weird, right? So the summers would get really hot.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy. Like it was either like 90 something or freezing. It's really weird. You know what I mean? And so when I moved here, people were like, oh, the winters. I was like, please. It's like, please come on. Like what winter? Like, I'd speak to my mother. I was like, how you doing? This winter. She's like, we just got 5 feet of snow. But things just, everyone does their thing.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah. Everyone's just like, whoops, sorry. Everyone's just like, oh yeah, I did this, and this today. So nothing like, it's just like business as usual. It's a really, really weird thing.
Yeah. Yeah. My brother lived in Minnesota for a while, and it's like if they would get like 2-3 feet of snow, it'd just be like, they just plow the roads and you go to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here it's like, it might snow, so schools are canceled.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like in high school, I think, and I was thinking, I was talking to someone about this. I think maybe a couple times, that was because like literally it was like black ice and like buses and shit were just like driving. But people just get up, plow. I played hockey. I'd go to, practice before school in the morning. Oh, geez, it'd be so cold.
Yeah.
I remember my buddy had like an old 54 Ford, and it was a column shift snapped right in two. It's like, okay. How are we going to get to school now? So I don't miss that cold.
Yeah.
If we could be very honest with each other, I don't miss it.
Why would you?
No.
Why would you? Is that what you did as a kid? Play hockey?
I did. So I played. I played football until I got messed up my back, but I played hockey and lacrosse, and then I went to college to play lacrosse too.
Nice.
And then I hurt myself, and that's how I started playing music.
Oh wow!
So I was a late bloomer to the game.
Wow. Yeah. What got you into music once you went to college and got hurt? What was it like?
I always loved I played some guitar and stuff, but like one of the big things I think was like my dad took me to see like Earth, Wind and Fire when I was young. They always took me to see shows, but I saw Stevie Wonder in Syracuse, completely. It was the most insane thing I've ever seen. He played for 2.5 hours straight, and the whole crowd would sang every song.
Nice.
There was people of all, different everything. I remember the dudes next to me in like suits. The big collars was like 1986. And it was just amazing, man.
Yeah.
Especially growing up what I did. It was being able to see that. I was just like, I would love to do this one day.
Yeah.
And then I think seeing. Like the Allman Brothers, seeing like Van Halen early on, stuff like that. I was just like, I would love to one day do this. But you're like, it's fun to play guitar up in my room.
Right.
And then so then after I went to catch a pass and literally my shoulder like fell out.
Oh man.
So I remember like playing with a buddy of mine, and I just right then and there, man, I caught the bug. And,
nice.
From 18 on, I've been playing music.
Yeah, because you were in Boston, like they had like crazy music scene going on. Like, is that something you were dove right head first into and discovering like the underground stuff happening there?
You know what? So when I first moved to Boston, I played in like a soul band.
Okay.
And then I played in like a 7-piece, which was amazing. We were doing like D'Angelo type stuff, Stevie Wonder type stuff. And then, so the guitarist Doug, he was in a band called Super Honey. They were amazing. So my band, we play like Parliament Funkadelic, bands like that. And then, and then just from playing with his band, that's how we knew each other. And then we played in a band, right before Gozu. It was more like kind of Radiohead-ish, Jeff Buckley.
Okay.
But when I first moved here, literally you could go out every night of the week and see an amazing band. Yeah. It was insane. And I remember some Fridays going to see one band and then going to see another band and then another band. It just was, this was, probably, in the probably like around 96 to like 2000 something. And then, unfortunately clubs just started kind of drying up, as rent like skyrocketed and things like that. But for the heavy scene, I remember going to see like Scissor Fight one night, the next night going to see Roadsaw, and then, and then you'd go see like a band like Soul Live or Christ, like Fatback. There was so much stuff of all different genres. Yeah. It was amazing. But always, there was so much crazy music in Boston back then. It was just always lively. And you had Berkeley and like Boston Conservatory. So there's so much stuff going on. Yeah. Like any night, you could go out on Monday night and see like Chicoria, like Wally's. It's insane. There's always something going on. So that definitely, I think moving here after college, definitely, opened my eyes to what you can do, what you can't do, and just that's when I was like, I got to give this a whirl. So it was a very good choice.
Yeah. Was it just exposure that led you into like wanting to play heavy music from like being a fan of soul and funk?
You know what? So like as a kid, heavy music was, like AC/DC was huge. Like Aerosmith was really big. Van Halen were kings, Mm-hmm. Maiden was huge. Triumph. I had buddies that were way into like Accept. Buddies into like Tigers of Pang Tang, Thin Lizzy was huge, so stuff like that, because the older guys I hung out with, the first album I ever bought in second grade was Back in Black, for the sheer, just because the groove was so eminent. I mean, yeah, I remember going to see like the Monsters of Rock tour. I think that was in like Rochester. So, things like that. I'd always really liked heavy music.
Yeah.
But then I think really kind of like getting into like Queens of the Stone Age and things like that.
Yeah.
That's when, and really kind of like digging on Clutch and bands like Scissor Fight and stuff. I think that's when I really kind of caught the bug. Like, all right, this stuff is groovy.
Yeah.
But it's, I mean, there's an emotional out. And so, yeah, it was just one of those things where I'd enjoyed it, for a really long time. Yeah. And so Doug was like, you want to do this? I was like, yep. Literally, it just kind of took off from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which was great.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned Queens of the Stone Age. Like, that's a big, heavy influence I hear listening to like that debut record.
Yeah, Locust Season. Oh yeah.
Or even before that, the self-titled.
Maybe. Oh, right on. Yeah. That. Yeah. I mean, like Rated R, I thought was amazing. Pretty much most of their early stuff, I thought was absolutely spectacular. And then we just played with Nick Oliveri in Germany. And that was, he was playing some of that stuff live, acoustic. Yeah. It was amazing. You know what I mean? Yeah. I remember seeing them in New York, and we had like this great chat about it. He was like, "You were there." And I was like, he's like, "Holy shit!" Yeah, he like hung out, watched the whole set. He was like,
nice.
He was like, "Man, that was sick." So, but yeah, they were definitely, I think. But then again, what I mean? They are. Talk about like. Back then it was 4 guys just crushing, you know what I mean? And really, I think what really got me into them was the fluidity of the songs. I mean, definitely, I love that guitar tone and things like that. But, I loved like the vocals, I mean, it wasn't like I could understand, and there was like really kind of momentous harmonies and things. So that really kind of got me into that, and obviously I was a huge Soundgarden fan. Also like I lived in Portland, Oregon. I took a year off from college, and I lived out there in like 1992, 93 when all that was really kind of going on. So that really kind of left an imprint in my mind also.
Nice.
So anything with a great groove and really good singers, that's kind of my what I'm really into.
Yeah. So it was you and Doug who started Gozu.
We did. Yep. Yeah. So. And then we had Barry, who was the drummer for Wargasm, who's on the first 2 albums, and then my buddy Jay, who was in Milltown. He's now the guitar tech for the Dropkick Murphys. Uh-huh. So he was in also, and then Joe's been in the band for a real long time. And then our drummer, we lost our drummer during COVID, so Seth, came down and rehearsed with us. It was literally. I think like 2 minutes in the first song, I was like, all right, I'm good. You know what I mean? It's like okay, all right. So, you know what I mean? Yeah. What's your sign? It's literally just, and so I think this is the best, lineup of the band.
Yeah.
I really think we're all different players, but, Seth, he brought such a really like an amazing enthusiasm. And, I mean, he's 15 years younger and stuff. So there was a feeling like, man, this young dude is going to come in and show us all up. So we were like, we should probably step up our game, So I think, you can get sedentary too. And plus COVID, you couldn't do anything for so long. So having him kind of jump in, at that time, it was really kind of the best thing that the band needed. And, I really think he kind of brought the fun back, that we needed to have.
Nice.
So, and the kid's groove is impeccable. I mean, he's a monster,
Yeah.
So, yeah, and the key thing is that, and people forget this, is like, it's great, you could be an amazing musician, But you also have to think about, is this someone, I'm in a van 14 hours. Is this someone I want to fucking throw out of the van? Or is this someone, that I can deal with? So we also, we took him out for a couple hangs and stuff too, just to make sure, also he didn't turn into like, some monster.
Yeah.
So, once we started, rehearsing the songs, like because of COVID, Doug and I wrote a ton of stuff. I put it on my phone and sent to him, vice versa. He do the same thing. So, when we got set in the band, the good thing is that we had a plethora of songs to choose from, so literally we just, once we got a date, for recording and stuff, we just shedded it. And then we were going to record, and then poor Dean got COVID. So then, fuck, I don't know. Then it was like another 3 or 4 months we had to kind of wait. Holy Christ, man. Yeah. But, which I think was good. And so this studio experience was the best studio experience I had. Oh, yeah. I mean, I was just talking to a guy earlier about this. So, we went in on a Friday, Seth got there. I think the three of us showed up like around noon. 2:00 we started, so, he's in his drum room. Joe and Doug are in a room. Then I'm in another room, playing guitar and singing. He did the 10 tracks a day and a half. We started doing guitars on Saturday at like 3:00 in the afternoon. No. I mean, there was no, usually you're doing Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You're like, fuck, I hope we get the drums done, right? I remember looking at my watch, being like, you got to be shitting me. He's like, all right, let's start guitars. And also during that time, I was like, hey, can you try this or try this? It was really kind of the most just throwing stuff out at each other. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, hey, man, do you mind giving this a whirl? He's like, I'll do it. And as he was doing it, I was like, it was one of those things where everyone really pushed each other to be like, all right, that was cool. Can we do this? And I think because it was our third album with Dean, and he's an amazing friend of ours. He has a way of really, instead of being like, the fuck was that? You know what I mean? Yeah. He'll be like, that was cool, but can we try this? And he's able to, like, I really think, bring out the best in what we do. He's amazing ears, what I mean? There's shit. He was like, oh yeah, 259, there's, and I was like, what the I mean, what? And you hear it, you'd be like, oh my God, how did that do? So he's one of those guys where, before we went in, we'd record all the tunes, right? Send it to him. But he and I would chat a lot about, all right, so Gaffe, what do we think of vocally? Yeah. So like this album, I really wanted like a lot of harmonies, you know what I mean? I wanted like definitely the melodies to be there. Mm-hmm. And we really talked about, we wanted to layer it like a Motown album, Yeah. But also I was listening to like a ton of like Roxy music, like a lot of Todd Rundgren. But then like a lot of Sly and the Family Stone, for harmonies and shit, I'm always listening to like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, or, the band is by far one of my favorites, for that 3-part, melodies and harmonies that they come up with. Yeah. So I really just, I was like, I'll try and do this on my, like I'll go in there and sing this stuff and try and do, he'd be like, all right, that's cool. Can we do this? And then, let's try and take it up, like a third. So it was one of those things, where when everything got rolling, it was just like, so I sang, I did the vocals in like 3 days. I was like, oh, nice. Here we go. Awesome. So yeah, and guitar wise, it's probably, I think some tunes, man, there's like 15 guitar tracks. I mean, wow. It's insane. You really stacked up. You know what I mean? It's a lot of, so, it was just one of those things, it was just, once the drums were done, there was nowhere to go but up. Yeah. And, to start on such a positive, foundation, it just really, really made everything kind of click.
Yeah. So, do you think that like tracking and stacking guitars is what makes the album feel so much heavier than your previous work? Like, or is that just from like you had extra time to write and it was like an intentional thing to just be like heavier and crunchier guitar? I
think so. We really kind of, so this is the first album we've done in B. So everything else, is in C. So we knew we
by that factor alone, everything is heavier.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, yeah. like C, right? And then you go to B, you're like, okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, so we did that, but I think though, we just wrote, much heavier tunes this time. And that was a conscious thing, We wanted something that was, we wanted something incredibly heavy, but incredibly, melodic.
Yeah.
Like I heard someone say, it's like really heavy soul music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I just think, I just think having, during COVID, I just played guitar.
Yeah.
Like, it was either that or what else am I going to do? You know what I mean? I'm not going to do physics and stuff like that. So, or like build a car.
Right.
So I took like literally 2 guitar lessons from Chris Broderick, and that really kind of changed like the way, because I don't know like anything. Like I'll be like, what fret are you on? You on the 5th fret? Like, okay, what the fuck? Like I don't know, the D sharp, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And like people are like, what do you? I'm like, yeah, I'm in K minor. So so I took a couple lessons, and that really kind of changed some of my thought process when writing. It's and we just wanted something that was really kind of just like and I think the thing about this is that even like I've never really written stuff like like the Handler or Ben Gazzara, and it just was stuff I was listening to like a lot of Sleep also, a lot of Yob, and so that definitely kind of marinated into things, and a lot of High on Fire and such too. So stuff like that kind of I was coming more at it I think that way.
Yeah, the music was really inspired by this heavier sound, and the vocals are inspired by something very soulful, and it's a interesting mixture and marriage there.
Yeah, right. It's definitely like a yin and yang.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it's something that we always have kind of strived for, but I think that this one is finally like what I've always heard in my head. You know what I mean? Like we were able to take it from here and be able to put it on vinyl. So
nice.
I'm really happy, and I've had to listen to it a bunch now. So
right.
So I know. We start tour on Friday. I was like, I should probably start listening to this fucking album.
Yeah.
So I know what I'm doing.
Like, how did I say that?
I mean, it's like, what the fuck? Yeah, right before that, I was just practicing, because we're going to play like 5 or 6, new songs. When we were in Europe in October, I think we played 5 new ones, and they went over like really, really well. So,
nice.
And now, just having the time to shed them and stuff. So I'm really happy, with all the tunes on the album.
Yeah. Have you thought about like, because the guitars are so stacked and the vocals, you have the harmonies built up. Do you not worry about that in the live setting? You're just like, the record is this thing that exists, and like, it's just to put our energy and just kick ass.
Yeah. but now, so Seth also sings now.
Okay.
So he and I are doing harmonies together. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the thing about the guitars is that, it's just live. It's you could definitely hear the guitars. Because my tone is night and day from Doug. Yeah. So live, I think live it sounds heavier than actually, you know what I mean? Yeah. I think live is just like, ooh, and he and I are such different players. I mean, he's a monster, guitarist. And I've always one of those dudes, like I love playing rhythm guitar. Like I never wanted to be, a shredder and stuff like that. Like I love like Nile Rodgers, shit like that. Like I love the Grateful Dead. I love Bob Weir. You know what I mean? So I enjoy, like I love playing riffs and stuff, but I really love playing like while he's soloing, because I can just do a ton of stuff. Yeah. And for me, it's more kind of locking in, with the drums and with Joe. So it's live. It's one of those things where when it's on, it's on. Yeah. You know what I mean? When you hit that note, you're like, all right. So I actually think live, especially when we're in playing that, it sounded heavy as a motherfucker. Awesome. Which a lot of smiles. Yeah. If not, I'd be like, that would be in an Air Supply cover band or something.
Right. Yeah.
Like I'll just crank I'm all out of love. But yeah, it's you know, I think because there was so much time. We even thought about like, all right, what pedals? You know what I mean? What cabs? Like what heads? Where before you're like, I guess maybe I'll use this one or not. But this time, I mean, you're able to kind of research and do different things. So having and we're pretty lucky, in regards to people letting us use pedals and things like that, and sending stuff like, hey, try this and this. Having that kind of also in your arsenal is like, because you're hammering on them before, you're like, I'm going to use this for this song. We'll use this for this song.
Yeah.
So, it was definitely, again, it's like we built the foundation, right? We didn't buy a jacuzzi first and then build it out. What I mean? We were like, all right, let's make sure the floors are level. Then we can go. So, yeah, there was also, I think, more of a conscious effort to really, when we're in there, we knew what we were going to plug into. We knew what cabs we were going to use. We knew what pedals. We knew what heads. We knew what guitars. So it all, luckily came to fruition. Everything that we thought we were going to do.
We're talking about the recording process of the new album. Let's just stick with the new album right now. The album is called Remedy. Where'd the title come from?
So, we all just enjoy, like just the one word title, you know what I mean? It's just easier. It flows better.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you read some shit. It's like, I don't want to read a whole fucking sonnet of, you know what I mean? It's just like,
right.
You know what I mean? It's just like, what, this one is called, I gave it The Office because I love, like, no. So, we were just kind of hammering around. We wanted, revival, then equilibrium. And Remedy, was just something that came up. But I also think because of, when we recorded all the stuff that was going on in the especially United States, right?
Yeah.
Shit show times 1,000.
Yeah.
So Remedy just kind of, I think Seth, we're just in a text like, okay, we should probably name this album, to do the artwork.
Yeah.
So it was just one of those things like, that works.
Yeah.
So it was really one of those things, just like tossing out names, and Remedy. We're like, great, this works. So that's where it came from. I wish there was like some, we were in like a sweat hut or something.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like we're finding our chi, but it's like, let's call it Remedy.
We're meditating high on mushrooms. And
watching Young Guns.
Who did the album artwork?
So Chris Smith, this is his third one.
Okay.
He's one of those guys, and it's uncanny. Literally, he'll be like, "You guys send me a couple tunes. We'll send him a couple tunes and just tell him this is what we're thinking."
Mm-hmm.
3 hours later, that dude comes back. He's like, "How about this?" You're like, okay, have you been like right next to us the whole time?
Yeah.
And so, I shit you not, man. Like a day, it was all done.
Nice.
It's just like, and he's constantly like that. But this one, I think, is his best. Like, it definitely has, it really has, I think, his feel. And then, we're just like, hey, what about this? What about this? He was like, okay, let me see. And it's just one of those things where, we're pretty lucky, to have something like that in our camp. He just gets what we do. And man, he gave it back to us. I think it was like a Tuesday night, right? And so I think, I don't know, like 10 o'clock he sent us something. And the next day it was like, what about this? And we're like, okay. So, we sent it into Metal Blade. They're like, you guys are already done? We're like, yeah. So, everything, regarding that, right? It's just like, And then that didn't weigh on our minds either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, fuck, all this stuff is done. We could just, go in and record and do things like that. So it really, by far, I think, it's his best work. Like, I just got a copy, like Metal Blade just sent us this, so.
Oh, wow.
Like literally.
Awesome.
And then the one that I got, it's pretty funky, huh?
Oh, that's dope. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
nice.
So we were able to,
nice.
So Chris did an amazing job. Just, each time he does something, it just gets better and better and better. And, so he did our shirts for us, the European tour poster. The guy kills it. And he's the nicest guy too.
Yeah.
He's a fellow, he's a Buffalo guy. So I have a special place in my heart. For him.
He gets it.
He does get it. He does. He wears winter hats. Yeah. He understands the wind chill factor.
Yeah. Were there things inspiring you lyrically on this record, or what were you drawing from when you were writing?
Yeah. So this album, I had, everything written, well before. And then a few weeks before, we were going to the studio, I was literally sitting right here and just something hit me. And I sat down, I wrote 5 songs in, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes. And the next week, I was like, oh, cool. I have these, the other ones are already written. And then literally the next week, I just literally grabbed my pencil and the other 5 just came out. Oh. And it's just, it's just, things that I've gone through, things that I've seen other people go through. I can only kind of write about, what I know, what I'm feeling. It's just, I couldn't get up there and sing about like muscle cars or stuff. Just, and just because that I don't know that stuff, I mean? Like, I don't know any like mystical dragons or, stuff like that. So for me, writing is a huge form of therapy. What I mean? So, they tend to be, real life experiences. I think this was probably the easiest album for me to write. Okay. Just, it once kind of the pen, Equilibrium too, but that was different just because of the shit that had happened in my life. But this album, I think because of just the kind of how chaotic everything, was, and just different things, I was witnessing, stuff like that. And just, talking to people, some good buddies of mine that were going through some shit. It just, it just kind of came to me and literally just came out. I don't know, it was osmosis, but once I started writing, it just was like, so I think, there's songs, I really enjoy, but I think on this album, lyrically, I actually really, really like all of them.
Nice.
And that's hard. Usually I rip the shit out of everything I do. I'm like, that sucks, But this is the first album, lyrically where I can listen to it. I don't listen to really any of the other Gozu shit. Just because I tend to kind of tear it apart. A touch bit critical, shall we say? But this album, like I listened to it, a couple tunes today, and I was really happy, when I was, kind of hammering through on guitar and stuff, and remembering the lyrics. Nice. So it's just kind of key when you're playing the shit live. Yeah, that's kind of. But it's one of those things. Like I don't sit down to write. I just kind of, when it hits me, I'll write. So I think in that aspect, like I never push writing or things, I just know something will come to me. And this one, it just was like bang, bang, like, and it just, once I started writing, it just oozed out of me. And it was almost like a cleansing, to be honest with you. I was just like, it's like, it was one of those things where I just felt better, after I rewrote them. It felt more honest.
Let's go back briefly. Where'd the band name come from?
So Douglas is a huge fan of Takashi Mike. So from the Gozu movie Cowhead is where it came from. He loves that shit. I don't know a ton about that. Like I've seen the movie, but we're all huge movie fans.
Yeah,
that's more his thing, shall we say? So he's like, "You want to come?" I was like, "Sure, yeah." Fuck. Like, all right, yeah, it was easy. Like, yeah. So it comes from that.
Nice.
Is where it is.
Nice. How'd you guys get connected with Metal Blade?
So we were playing a show at Lucky 13 in Brooklyn, and I love all those cooking shows. Like, I love that shit. And so we look up, and Joe and I were like, "That's fucking Chris Santos." And Doug had no idea who he was, you know what I mean? So he's over there, talking to Doug, and we were like, "There's no fucking way that dude knows it." And he had shown Doug, he was literally, as we're playing, he's videotaping, and he was sending stuff to Brian Slagle. And so, he came over, he chatted with us. It's like, "I love you guys. I've done a ton for Metal Blade, but now I'm going to have, my own subsidiary, Blacklight Media. I'd love to sign you guys." We're like, "Sure, cool." Yeah. Like, that was great. Hey, at least I got to meet that dude. And sure enough, that Monday we got an email. Like, "I want to sign you guys. Here you go." And so it was one of those things, literally, he came out to the show, and everything was just like clicked. I mean, we were hammering that night. I mean, it was an amazing show. And it's just being able to work with, him and, everyone at Metal Blade. If you would have asked me, when I was a kid, right? I'd be like, "No fucking way." It's pretty astounding to be able to work with him. Especially, like the two people that we work with, Heidi Weaver is absolutely amazing. And then we have Ryan Williams, who used to play bass for Black Dahlia. He actually mastered the album. So, and Chris is such an amazing, music fan. So they understand, really about music. And they all listen to, a plethora of different genres and such. So I think the cool thing about them is that they're music fans first,
Yeah.
And, when working with people like that, you don't want to let them down. Yeah. So we're constantly pushing ourselves. You want to make them proud, obviously you want to make yourself proud, but you have these people that are helping and such, and hey, do this and this. So, you really want to make sure that they're smiling when they listen to the album, things like that. It's been an amazing experience. It just is, like we'd send it to them when we're recording, and what do you think of this? What do you think of this? Just one of those things where it's a very, is very mutualistic. And, I could not be happier than to, and just getting to know them is, it's a business, but it's also a friendship. So, yeah, we're incredibly lucky for fruitcakes, to be able to do that. Yeah, it's amazing.
Right. Nice. The album is out Friday. You guys go on tour. What's the rest of this year look like? Just hitting the road?
Yeah. So, So our first show is at St. Vitus. Then we're in Philly the next day. Then Pittsburgh. And then we're in like Indianapolis, Ohio, Kentucky. We have a bunch of shows in Texas. We're doing like Chicago, Nebraska, Denver, New Orleans, Nashville, a few in North Carolina. And our last show is on the 10th in Boston with Cave In and Yob. Nice. That's right. That some bitch was like sold out. I don't even know a while ago. So I mean that's a pretty amazing way to end. I mean, Yob is one of my favorite. And Cave In are kings here. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Being able to play with those two bands is, talk about a beautiful, way to end something.
Yeah.
We get to play them. We get to hang out and watch those bands just crush. So, and we're hitting a couple different places. Like I've never played in Kentucky before, things like that. Obviously, I've played in Texas a bunch, but that was more like South by Southwest and things like that. So, everywhere we're playing, I'm really excited about. It's not like, I'm just like, oh, shit, we got to go to that area. So I'm excited about that. Yeah, we're playing like in Atlanta. So, yeah, it's areas where, luckily our type of music is does well. So I'm really excited.
Thanks for listening to As the Story Grows. Our intro music was written and composed by Jeremy Hunt. The As the Story Grows theme is by Bob Nana. If you like what you hear, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and give us a rating and review. If you'd like to support the show financially, you can join us at patreon.com/asthestorygrows. Be a part of our community and join the ongoing conversation over on Discord. If you enjoy this episode, share it on social media with your friends. Much appreciated, and thanks for listening.
I never felt so young and alive as when I'm diving into a tune. And now I'm learning as I listen along, and the wheels are turning, and I started a song. One good word and I'm gone. Oh, as the story grows, the more I want to know, the more I want to show you. As the story grows, as the story grows. You can create something lasting and great, something passionate and real. And I'll bring in my own good feelings, I'll sing it with meaning. Let's just attack it and never look back. It's wild and fantastic. All together at full power, we're so much better. What's that word?